Welcome to Making Video Games with Python, Lesson 21. In this video, we're going to explore another class from the game library called the Shape class. This Shape class will allow us to create bars for our health and ammo. We're also going to explore how to create non-looping animations for an explosion for every time we collide with an asteroid. So let's get to it. So to kind of set the stage, we currently have the ability to collect ammo and to collect health pods, and also to have our health reduced for every time we collide with an asteroid. And we can see that based off these two numbers. The first number is the amount of health, the second number is the amount of ammo. Now, these numbers provide some feedback for the user, but it's not very visually appealing. I know many games use a small bar underneath the particular object that's being affected to represent how much they have of a certain item. So if we go to our game library, there is a shape class towards the very bottom of the game library that allows us to create polygons, bars, rectangles, and ellipse. You'll see that the shape class is also a game object class, which means similar to an image and an animation, it has access to all of these variables as well as all these functions. So conceivably, you could check for a collision with a bar, with a rectangle, with a polygon. You could move polygons. Again, that's not something we're going to explore in this particular game. What we are going to do, though, we're going to use the shape class strictly for the fact that it allows us to draw a bar. All right, so let's go to our game, and right where we have the hero, let's create a variable called health bar. Let's make it a shape, and if we look at the init function, we'll see that the first thing it wants is a shape. Again, one of these shapes. Again, unlike the animation and the image classes, which actually require the path to an image, the shape doesn't need that because, again, it's just drawing a shape. Again, continuing on with our exploration of how to create a shape, the next thing it wants is a game, very similar to the other classes. And then we come across this argument 1 and argument 2. So depending on the type of shape that you're creating, argument 1 and argument 2 take on different meaning. So for a bar, argument 1 will represent the width, argument 2 will represent the height. All right, so let's make the health bar initially the same height or the same width as the hero's health. And let's make the height 10. And then the last thing we need is a color for the bar. So we'll make the health bar green. And now let's do a little copy and paste and do the same thing for the ammo bar. Except that the ammo bar should be as wide as the hero's ammo. And let's make this blue, just to have a different color. All right, great. So we got two shapes, two bars, to represent our health bar and our ammo bar. Now we have to actually draw them. Now, from an earlier video, we created this function called hero update that handled the drawing of the hero as well as the controls for the hero. So it kind of makes sense to, add to this function as part of that modular programming concept. So let's go health bar dot. Now, instead of using draw, what I'm going to use is a move to. If you recall, we did something similar to this in Zombie Thanksgiving where we had the crosshairs follow our mouse. Well, in this case, we're going to have the health bar follow the hero. So we can do hero.x and hero.y. Now, if we leave it like this, the health bar is going to be right on top of our hero. So let's adjust the numbers a little bit. So let's move it a little bit to the left, and let's move it a little bit down. Now, while we're here, let's go ahead and draw the ammo bar as well. And let's simply move the ammo bar a little further down. Okay, let's give it a try. Okay, so we can see here we have our health bar, and you can barely see it, but you have the little blue ammo bar underneath. Again, remember, this is supposed to reflect how much ammo we've created. So the width of this bar is only 4, not very large. Now, as I move around, you can see here the numbers are increasing, but the bars aren't moving. That's because we haven't associated these numbers with the width of these bars. So let's do that. So the width of the health bar should be associated with the hero's health. So let's do that. And the width of the ammo bar should be associated with the hero's ammo. All right, so what this does for us is that as we collect health pods or collide with the asteroids, the width of this bar should change to reflect that number. Oops, over here. All right, so let's see what happens. Let's start collecting some health pods, or we can actually, let's collide with some of the asteroids. And I think we could easily see our health bar is definitely decreasing. Now, I'm not sure if you're able to kind of spot it, but that little blue bar underneath is definitely getting bigger, more visible. So it'd be nice for us to kind of scale both these bars a little better so they kind of match each other and they're not so different in size. So what we can do with the health bar is to take the health and divide it by 2, scaling it down a little bit. And then we take the ammo and perhaps multiply it by, let's see, let's multiply it by 3. Again, the number's kind of arbitrary, but it's just for visual purposes. Okay, so as we're collecting our ammo, we can see here the blue bar is definitely increasing a lot more now. I would say we could probably even go up to like 4, just so it grows a little faster. Again, these are just some of the finer points that you can have as you collect. And so definitely, visually, it's better to see those bars. Okay. So again, I'll leave the fine tuning to you in terms of how you want to scale both these bars. What I want to work on next is the idea that every time we collide with an asteroid, we get a little explosion. Again, something visual that says, hey, you've collided with the asteroid. So the first thing we have to do as part of this, and I have this already kind of set up, we have to create a variable to represent the animation for the explosion. Let me share that with you from in here. Explosion, that's this one here. Again, so that one line is just creating this animation of the explosion. Actually, is it that one? Which one is it? It's actually explosion 4, which is this one. Again, these are all animations. You can definitely choose whichever explosion you want. Now, the other thing we're going to have to do, if you kind of recall, anytime we create an image or an animation, it automatically pops up on the screen. Well, we don't want to have that. We only want to see the explosion when we've collided with an asteroid. So in order to make that happen, we have to change the explosion's visibility to false before we even enter the game. Now, the next thing we need to do is that we need to be able to draw the explosion. So let's do the drawing of the explosion. Let's do it right here. Explosion.draw. I want to go into our game library and let's just take a look at the draw function for an animation. So again, we're in the animation class right now. We're scrolling down to the draw function and we'll see that there's an extra parameter called loop and that by default it gets set to true. What this lets us do is that we create an animation variable. It's going to keep looping. But for a explosion, we're going to set this to false. What that does for us is that it's going to draw the explosion once and then make it not visible. Again, you'll get a better sense of that when we actually play the game. So now the question is, we have to now make, when do we want to make the explosion visible? Well, we want to make the explosion visible anytime the hero collides with the asteroid. So we're going to go right here. We're going to say explosion dot visible equals true. Again, because if you recall, we made the explosion invisible by setting it to false. So when we collide with an asteroid, any asteroid, we're going to set the explosion to visible. And the other thing we have to do, which we've kind of explored in this particular video, is use the move to move the explosion to the hero's location. Now in this case, I am going to leave it like this so that the explosion pops up right on the hero. See how that looks? And let's go ahead and collide with an explosion, with an asteroid. All right, looks nice. So notice that the animation plays once and then it goes away. If we didn't have that, what would happen is that the explosion would continually be animated. Matter of fact, let me demonstrate that for you. What happens if we don't put the false there? So notice, without the false, the animation keeps playing at the location of where we collided. By setting it to false, it plays once wherever we've collided with an asteroid, and then it just goes away. Again, so that's a really nice feature of an animation, in that if we set it to false, the drawing to false, it draws once and then it goes away. We can control when we see it by simply manipulating the visible property of that particular animation. All right, so let's go back to our presentation and let's review what we've done. So in this video, we explored a new class from the game library called the Shape class that allowed us to create a bar for the health and the ammo. Associating the hero's health and the hero's ammo with the width of the bars allowed us to create a very dynamic visual effect that provided the user some feedback as to how much health they had and ammo. We also explored how to create non-looping animations by simply providing the value of false to the draw function, which allowed the animation to draw once and then make itself not visible. We then later are able to control when we see this non-looping animation by simply manipulating the visible property between true and false, depending on what the situation needs. So hopefully you're excited about continuing your exploration of Delta Fighter, and enjoy.